The rain had turned the city streets into mirrors, reflecting blurred headlights and tired faces, rushing toward another ordinary workday. At the corner cafe, one small act of kindness changed two lives forever, but neither of them knew it yet. A young woman quietly paid for a stranger's coffee after noticing he had forgotten his wallet. She expected nothing in return, never even asked for his name. Less than 24 hours later, she walked into her office and froze as she watched that same stranger walk into the executive boardroom, only to fire the powerful boss who had made her life miserable for years. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness always finds its way back, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Soulful Tales 2 for more emotional stories that restore faith in humanity. Mara Whitmore had never imagined her life would become so exhausting by the age of 28. Every weekday began before sunrise. She lived in a modest apartment on the edge of the city, helping support her aging grandmother while working as an administrative assistant at one of the largest real estate companies downtown. Her paycheck barely covered rent, groceries, medicine, and transportation. There was rarely enough left for herself, yet she always found a reason to smile. Her grandmother had spent years reminding her that wealth could disappear overnight, but kindness stayed in people's hearts forever. That lesson guided Mara through every difficult day. Even when customers shouted, coworkers complained, or strangers ignored her, she refused to become bitter. She believed every person carried a story that no one else could see. Her office, however, tested that belief every single day. Her supervisor, Victor Halden, had built a reputation for humiliating employees in front of others. Deadlines changed without warning. Praise never came, but criticism arrived constantly. Every mistake became public. Every success belonged to him. Employees quietly counted the days until they could find another job. But good opportunities were scarce. Most stayed because they needed the paycheck. Mara stayed because her grandmother's medical treatments depended on it. That rainy Tuesday morning, she stopped at the neighborhood cafe before work. The warm smell of fresh coffee briefly erased, the cold dampness clinging to her clothes. She ordered the smallest cup on the menu, carefully counting the last few bills inside her wallet. Just ahead of her stood a tall man wearing a soaked, white dress shirt beneath a dark jacket. He searched every pocket with growing frustration before quietly apologizing to the cashier. His wallet was nowhere to be found. The line behind him grew impatient. Without thinking, Mara stepped forward and offered to pay. It wasn't much. Just one coffee. The man hesitated, embarrassed, but finally accepted with sincere gratitude. His tired eyes softened as he thanked her. There was something unusually calm about him despite the inconvenience. He asked for her name, but before the conversation could continue, Mara simply smiled, wished him a better day, and hurried toward work before she was late. She never expected to see him again. That afternoon became one of the hardest days she had experienced. Victor publicly blamed her for a scheduling mistake that had actually been caused by another department. He interrupted her explanation, accused her of making excuses, and ordered her to stay 2 extra hours fixing documents she had never created. Her co-workers lowered their heads, too afraid to defend her. As Mara walked home that evening beneath another wave of rain, she wondered how much longer she could survive like this. She wanted to quit. She wanted to cry. Yet she knew tomorrow would arrive whether she was ready or not. The next morning, the office buzzed with unusual excitement. Luxury cars filled the parking lot. Executives from headquarters had unexpectedly arrived. Employees whispered that the company's majority owner had personally come to conduct an internal review after receiving months of confidential complaints about management. Victor suddenly transformed into the friendliest boss anyone had ever seen. He smiled. He greeted everyone politely. He even thanked employees for their hard work. No one believed it. Around 10 o'clock, the conference room doors opened. Several executives entered first. Then Mara looked up and her heart nearly stopped. Walking confidently, behind them was the same man whose coffee she had purchased the previous morning. Only now he wore a perfectly tailored navy suit. Every executive greeted him with obvious respect. Victor rushed forward with forced enthusiasm. The stranger shook his hand politely before walking past him without a smile. Only then did everyone learn his identity. His name was Adrian Mercer, He wasn't just another executive. He was the newly appointed chief executive officer and principal shareholder after purchasing controlling interest in the company only days earlier. The office fell completely silent. Mara couldn't believe it. Neither could Victor. For the next several hours, Adrian personally interviewed employees from every department. Unlike previous executives who rarely listened, he asked thoughtful questions. He reviewed reports himself instead of relying only on management summaries. He noticed patterns. He compared employee turnover records. He studied anonymous complaints. Most importantly, he listened. People who had remained silent for years finally found the courage to speak honestly. Mara almost chose to stay quiet. She didn't want revenge. She simply wanted fairness. When Adrian eventually asked about her experience, she carefully answered every question without exaggeration. She admitted the office culture had become dominated by fear instead of teamwork. She acknowledged her own mistakes whenever appropriate. She refused to insult anyone personally. Her honesty impressed him more than anger ever could. Late that afternoon, every employee received an email requesting attendance in the main conference hall. Victor entered looking unusually confident. He probably believed another routine corporate announcement was coming. Instead, Adrian stepped onto the stage holding several folders. He calmly explained that the company investigation had uncovered repeated violations involving intimidation, manipulation of employee evaluations, financial reporting irregularities, and abuse of authority. Then he announced that Victor Halden's employment was terminated effective immediately. No shouting followed. No dramatic argument. Only complete silence. Security respectfully escorted Victor from the building while stunned employees watched years of fear disappear through the front doors. Many wanted to celebrate. Instead, most simply felt relieved. For the first time in years, they could breathe. Over the following weeks, the office slowly transformed. Anonymous feedback became encouraged. Managers received leadership training. Performance reviews became transparent. Employees who had previously hidden their ideas began contributing openly. Productivity increased naturally because fear no longer controlled the workplace. One afternoon, Adrian happened to pass Mara while reviewing departmental changes. He paused beside her desk. Only then did he reveal that he had recognized her. Immediately, the moment she entered the conference room that first morning, he admitted something she never expected. That simple cup of coffee had arrived during one of the lowest moments of his career. The acquisition had become far more complicated than anticipated. Legal negotiations had continued through the night. His wallet had been left inside another vehicle during an emergency meeting. He hadn't slept. He questioned whether purchasing the struggling company had been the right decision. Then a complete stranger quietly reminded him that compassion still existed. It wasn't the price of the coffee. It was the fact that someone expected absolutely nothing in return. That moment stayed with him throughout the entire investigation. Not because it influenced his business decisions, but because it reminded him exactly what kind of workplace he wanted to build. Months passed. Mara never received special treatment. She earned every opportunity through hard work. When a new operations coordinator position became available, several candidates applied. After independent evaluations by multiple department leaders, Mara received the promotion because her performance consistently ranked highest. She accepted with gratitude rather than pride. Her increased salary allowed her grandmother to receive better medical care. Their small apartment slowly became brighter with fresh paint, repaired furniture, and fewer worries about unpaid bills. Life wasn't suddenly perfect. There were still challenges. Unexpected expenses still appeared. Some days remained stressful, but hope had returned. Employees smiled more often. People stopped fearing Monday mornings. The company became known, not only for financial success, but for treating employees with dignity. One rainy afternoon, nearly a year later, Mara visited the same little cafe where everything had begun. She ordered her usual small coffee. While waiting, she noticed a college student searching every pocket with growing embarrassment after realizing he had forgotten his wallet. Without hesitation, Mara quietly paid for his drink. The young man thanked her repeatedly. She simply smiled. As she walked outside into the sunshine breaking through the clouds, she realized kindness was never really about changing the world in one dramatic moment. It was about creating one small ripple that inspired another, and another, and another. Sometimes the person receiving kindness became the one offering it tomorrow. Sometimes one generous decision quietly reshaped an entire workplace. Sometimes one ordinary cup of coffee became the beginning of someone's second chance. No one can predict which simple act will echo through another person's life. But every act matters. Every choice matters. Every moment of compassion plants a seed that may bloom long after we have forgotten planting it. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes kindness still exists, and subscribe to Soulful Tales too. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind the world compassion is never wasted. Special request: comment below with one small act of kindness that someone has shown you, or one kind thing you plan to do for a stranger this week. As Mara disappeared into the bright afternoon carrying nothing more than a simple paper coffee cup, she smiled, knowing she had never become wealthy, famous, or powerful. Yet one ordinary choice made on a rainy morning had quietly changed countless lives, and perhaps somewhere, another stranger was about to continue that same beautiful chain of kindness, proving that the smallest gestures often leave the biggest footprints on the human heart.